Throughout Calradia, Tubilisians, a collection of ethnic clans that come from every end of the Calradian continent, are known as followers of an archaic set of beliefs who worship divines constituted of the Creator and his court of angels who each have a specific place in the heavenly hierarchy and a dedicated purpose. However, despite the vast and complex angelology, at the center of Tubilisian faith is a single most important theological figure, a mortal, namely Prophet Tubilis, whose title and name are hereditary and were passed down an unbroken lineage for over 1,000 years since the days of the progenitor Tubilis I, also known as the chieftain of Seraphs and Hand of the Creator. In accordance with the Tubilisian calendar, the prophecy delivered by the last known surviving prophet Tubilis was conveyed in 1012. This is where, most believe, the earliest surviving Tubilisian records begin. A common and deliberately invented misconception that held until this key moment in Calradic history. The particulars and sketches contained within this manuscript will terrify and may make one question the very fundamental laws of the world and the Calradian continent. Only now have these records been revealed to common Calradian folk from the secret archive of Quyaz, home to the Tubilisian bloodline. Until recently, these records were not known to anyone outside of the circle of the Tubilisian high priesthood and the prophet's exalted champions. However, since the sacking of Quyaz and the exodus of the Tubilisian faithful in 1012, the murder of the prophet, and the 26-year-long search for his son proving to be fruitless, a decision was made to lift the holy seals. Without Tubilis, son of Tubilis, and with the Holy Savior's bloodline likely interrupted, the Tubilisian high priests have no choice but to unseal the records and share this manuscript so that the faithful may yet have a chance to save the lives of generations unborn. During the sacking of the holy city of Quyaz in 1012, a priceless collection of ancient tablets, dating a millennium and surviving since the days of Tubilis I, was destroyed, while a small number of the holy tablets was stolen and lost throughout Calradia. However, a more recent central work remains. The oldest surviving manuscript comes from the works of a Tubilisian scholar who went by the moniker Abdal-Wahid al-Ma'arif, also known as René de Larnac, a Proto-Vlandian born during the rule of Wylan the Bold, who later in life converted to Tubilisian faith. Centuries ago, Abdal-Wahid al-Marif, the master scholar of the high priests, had the privilege of studying the vast and exquisite collection of ancient tablets and scrolls in the secret archive of Quyaz. By virtue of his wealth and high position within the Tubilisian priesthood, he was also allowed to inspect many coveted forbidden tomes and magistrate records in countless libraries across Calradia. The master scholar, considered mad by some of his lesser contemporaries, the imperial scholars of mysticism and occult, produced a record in a form of a book in which he theorized that Tubilis I had discovered a metaphysical secret that governed the Calradian continent and the lives of all who inhabit it. He named his magnum opus the Law of Tubilis, within which he described the concept as the Towers of Power, also known as the Towers of Evil, and the theory that certain areas of Calradia exhume unusually high levels of negative energy, the epicenters of which are the 7 towers themselves. While Tubilis I discovered and guarded one Tower of Power during his lifetime, as did his son and the entire bloodline and those who served them, there are 6 more throughout Calradia. According to Abdal-Wahid al-Marif, the mountains of Hiblet, a birthplace of the folklore about the legendary giants, and not long ago, a mass graveyard for those fallen during the Battle of Ain Balik, while under the rule of the Grand Imperial Usurper in 1036, are a home to the Tower of Power, discovered by Tubilis I. The second region, containing 3 towers, lies under the Perassic and Jade Seas, and is the tomb of the mythical Badlantis, the sunken city where goddess Artanis ruled supreme. The third, containing 2 towers, is the mountain range that stretches from Zeonica to Jalmaris, whose plains witnessed countless wars, reducing the lives of entire generations to ash. More recently, a domain hosting a struggle for power by a cunning Vlandian king and a powerful Sturgeon warlord during the years of 1036 and 1038. The last tower is located in the Ilataric hills of Poros that carry a foul reputation for being infested by an unusually large number of native and passing warbands intent on ambushing, looting, and slaughter. In his work, Tubilisian scholar Abdalwahid al-Marif, through the extensive study of the secret archive as well as of the restricted libraries across Calradia, describes these regions not only as the focal point of wrongs and violations conducted by men waging war and committing nefarious and strange occultist crimes, but also as regions teeming with countless witness accounts of mystical occurrences, odd animals, and bizarre sightings enumerated in records and witness testimonies collected by the local authorities of each respective region. To this day, the area that surrounds the mountains of Hiblet brings troubles to the local authorities of Quyaz. Unexplained disappearances of travelers and shepherds, rumors of strange sightings of large creatures residing deep in the unreachable summit, and an unusually large number of madmen and hermits settle in the hills alongside the mountains. It seems, however, that these troubles are not a new phenomenon. According to the ancient tablets from the secret archive of Quyaz, the oldest legends of Hiblet Mountains were born from the tales told by the elders of the fire worshipper tribes, the descendants of the people who came from the southwest of Hiblet, Jabal Tamar Ridge. The struggle against this phenomenon is also not a new development. Of all prophets, the most mysterious is Prophet Tubilis I, born in the mountains of Hiblet. Little is known about the first prophet beyond him being the man who laid the foundation of the city known today as Quyaz. The few historical records that remained in the archive of Quyaz and that were captured by Abdalwahid al-Marif's work describe the first prophet's absolute hatred and killings of the fire worshippers who fostered the beliefs in the mythical giants of Hiblet. Some legends even claim that it is by the hand of Tubilis I and the company of his exalted champions that the giants were slain. Despite the best efforts of Tubilis I to destroy all of their lore, some folklore still made it to the present day, passed by the word of mouth, from one generation to the next, in the surviving ancient tongue that is a mix of Proto-Canic and Proto-Nahasi dialects. This folklore was captured by the scholars of Quyaz in the form of scrolls. It is from this source that we know the following about the giant worshippers. The people of old believed that before the clans moved further north into the areas around Quyaz, they were ruled by winged giants who would descend from the mountains of Hiblet. Massive trunks of old trees were carved by the tribesmen to resemble the faces of the giants as a way of honoring their mythical rulers. Besides desecrating the old trees with their idolatry, as evidenced by multiple mentions in the translations of the pagans' prayers, the worshippers of old revered fireballs in the skies that they believed announced the arrival of their divine rulers. The giants would protect the local population from wild beasts and were treated as deities. According to the legends, the giants encouraged the tribesmen to stay one with nature and use only the most necessary tools for survival, maintaining the traditions of old by hunting with weapons made out of bone. This period in the history of the region is also known as the Age of Stagnation. The legends speak of entire clans leaving into the mountains with the giants, never to be seen again. Some legends speak of the few who would come back, but they were never the same. Some, especially strong young warriors, would return boasting of great newly acquired strength, but becoming completely disinterested in anything or anyone from their past lives. Even if they left while having a lover, after coming back, the chosen ones would pay no attention to the calls of the heart. They wouldn't recognize their kin and would depart from the settled areas to travel the continent for prolonged periods of time. Decades later, Most of these warriors, now older men, would eventually return to the villages from their travels, and after several years, without producing any offspring, they would leave into the mountains again to sacrifice themselves as tribute to the giants. Despite this, for clans or young warriors, to be chosen to go on a pilgrimage into the mountains was a great honor, and when it was time for individuals or clans to depart, a great feast was thrown to celebrate the occasion. According to Abdalwahid al-Marif, all of this information is secretly shared with the guard commander of Kuyaz, the highest-ranking city watch official, once he is sworn into office. He then dispatches his most loyal man on covert missions to combat any nefarious activity in the region connected to the incursions by the evil, worshipping occultists who still hold these depraved beliefs. The evil, worshipping occultists and their heretical religion, which were pushed out from Kuyaz past the western bank of the Damar River, still survive in the eastern parts of the desert despite much bloodshed aimed at their destruction. Today, more than 1,000 years later, despite the persecution and killings, the cultist sects remain. Currently, the most notable of them is Eskandar's denomination. Eskandar, the villain who raids the villages that lie deep in the desert, abducts Asarai villagers and nomads to the east of the Damar River. The victims of the occultists are butchered and disassembled like dolls in sacrilegious rituals. Men, women, children, none are spared from the sadistic rites of blood magic. Through such nefarious ceremonies, it is rumored that the occultists hope to summon otherworldly creatures known as jinn, and with their help determine the location of the Tower of Power in the mountains of Hiblet. The heretics believe that by reaching the tower, they can initiate the second coming of the giants, who shall bring about the new world and rule over all in their twisted paradise, with the occultists serving at their side as overseers to the rest of the souls in Calradia. The gangs of occultists, locked in a struggle with the authorities of Iakis, reside in a series of hideouts and ghost towns to the south of Abba. These wicked tribes vow to return and reclaim their land under the mountains of Hiblet. One must be vigilant in their choice of refuge during a sandstorm, for if the caves they happened to come across in a desperate search for shelter have glowing writings on the walls, painted with inks made of the water plants gathered in the Jade Sea, one can be sure that the occultists are nearby, and it is best to leave the cursed place with haste. It is not surprising that the city of Kuyaz itself is not free from unusual and odd phenomena. A common scary tale that Tubilisian faithful who lived in Kuyaz prior to 1012 used to tell their misbehaving children is the legend of the Knocker. The Knocker, a flying maiden with black eyes, no hair, pale skin, and with teeth sharp, preys on the naughty children of Kuyaz. She comes at night with fire in her black eyes. With her claws sharpened and ready, she, imitating the voices of one's kin or friends, knocks on the window to lure the curious prey closer. As the brat reaches the window to take a peek, the knocker snatches the misbehaving child and carries it away, munching on the unruly little one. The knocker always comes at night, and the knocker is always hungry. At a first glance, this is a harmless tale. Further investigation reveals its sinister roots. According to the records of the city guard, presented by Abdalwahid al-Marif in his manuscript, Kuyaz was well known as a dangerous place for the young, and many abductions happened during the cover of night. Despite the best efforts of its protectors, the surroundings of Kuyaz were still secretly populated by the fire-worshipping occultists who practiced child sacrifice, seeking to garner favor from otherworldly creatures or to summon ghoulish beings to terrorize the locals. Beyond these instances, two recent records from the journals of the Settlement Guard indicate that sentries have encountered a strange figure, which behaved in ways that don't correspond with the natural law. Once in the lower district of Kuyaz and once in the palace garden. A report from 952 Fifth of Darkness indicates that an armed patrol of 5 sentries noticed a thief attempting to enter a second floor through the window of the house sheltering the orphans in the lower district of Kuyaz. The guards approached without raising their voices to increase the chance of detaining the lawbreaker. However, upon getting within 15 steps, the sentries report noticing that the thief was not holding on to anything around and, it appeared, was floating in the air. As the patrol rushed towards the building, the thief turned its head around and glanced over at the sentries, revealing a pale-skinned, bold head with what appeared to be red eyes and an unnatural set of teeth, after which the creature attached itself to the house and quickly escaped to the roof. Due to the speed of the creature, the patrol was not able to apprehend it. Consequently, the guard commander doubled the number of sentries in the lower district of Kuyaz, but the creature was never seen again. A second report from 1007, 23rd of Seeds, indicates that the Royal Guard encountered a similar being while patrolling the keep's garden. 2 guardsmen noticed a pale creature attached to the window of the keep's room, belonging to the adolescent son of the city's ruler. As the alarm bell was sounded in less than a minute's time, covering a distance of at least several stories, the being climbed the vertical wall of the keep to the roof. The Royal Guard swept through the top of the keep, but no trace was found that night or the following week, during which time the Royal Guard stayed on high alert. The origin of these strange and vile sightings remains an unknown mystery, but it has been recently rumored that the creature was sighted again several times in the villages of Bach, Hiblet, and Ain Balik in 1036. More nefarious activity surrounds the area adjacent to both Kuyaz and Zionica. The Perassic Sea is known for its rich fisheries, and it is a place of birth of the oldest sea legend produced by Canuck sailors. Considered an act of unacceptable paganism punishable by law in Kuyaz and Ortisia, but looked upon more leniently in the surrounding principalities, the custom of giving a tribute to the beast of the Perassic Sea, known as the Beast of Artanis, by sacrificing a small animal and carving its bones before heading out into the open sailing, survives to this day and is practiced in secret by many sailors. It is believed by them that the sacrifice would not only save the sailors from the unfortunate fate of being consumed, but would also grant them the favor of the beast that would leave a large number of fish untouched, which would lead to a plentiful haul. Some believe that the beast acts as a protector of the mythical Ba-Atlantis and was created by goddess Artanis to guard the tomb of the city. Abd al-Wahid al-Ma'rif, on the other hand, concluding from the historical records of ancient stones found underwater near the isles of the Perassic Sea by the daring explorer captains, theorized that the city was a real place and the beast is anything but a protector created by a holy deity. In his book, Abd al-Wahid al-Ma'rif claimed that the demise of the city was the consequence of either the Ba-Atlanteans' careless misuse of the Towers of Evil to achieve power, or due to nefarious activities of the ancient enemies of the legendary city, who wanted to see the Ba-Atlantean Empire destroyed. The use of the towers led to an immense amount of negative energy concentrated in one location and consequently caused a massive volcanic eruption that saw thousands of lives destroyed and a large landmass being claimed by the body of water that now forms the Perassic and Jade Seas. Abd al-Wahid al-Ma'rif speculated that during the cataclysm, the towers facilitated the entrance of multiple otherworldly creatures into Kalradia, one of which was a massive fiend that was a perversion of the image of Artanis. Deep voyaging across the Perassic Sea is considered dangerous to this day. Many ships are lost and only the bravest of captains attempt to cross the sea from shore to shore. Many sailors consider the seas a much more dangerous place than the Gulf of Charas or the Western Ocean that surrounds the continent. Occasionally, one can still come across terrified drinking sailor crews who claim that their boat has been approached by a creature with limbs unlike those of the fish and a head resembling a hairless forest beast. Past the Perassic Sea, Another area with a high concentration of negative energy, as indicated by Abdalwahid al-Ma'arif, is the Ilitaric Hills of Poros, which are well known for an unusually large number of native and passing warbands intent on ambushing, looting, and slaughter. It is also rumored that there is a series of hidden caves located in the unpassable regions of the mountain range in which a large family of cannibals resides. There are whispers that the members of the clan, numbering several hundred, occasionally leave the caves to prey on the innocents in the nearby villages. Some believe that the cannibals worship the Moth King, a creature that grants favors, including extending one's life beyond the natural years. It is believed that the cannibals seek obsidian, a strange, dark material that is believed to facilitate contact with the otherworldly creatures, to communicate with their heretical deity. The natives of the region believe that the substance can be found in the corrupted parts of the hills, where all sounds cease, and where people's own voices disappear. The mountain range that stretches from Zionica to Jalmaries is not free from nefarious and evil happenings. Records from the facility in Zionica that cares for the mentally ill point to tens of people every year being affected by a strange, fatal paralysis affliction. Every summer, a large number of villages suffer from nightmares, and many of those afflicted lose their minds and descend into madness. Some even die from terror in their sleep. Those who recover tell of being visited by evil creatures in their dreams, the vile entities that make an attempt on the sufferer's life, suffocating the victim. This region near Alsasos, Aristokoris, and Elvania is also well known for strange objects bizarrely appearing where they shouldn't. Structures such as stairs are spotted by some hunters deep within the forests, appearing completely out of place in the wild. It is believed that if one is to come upon such a structure, under no circumstance should this structure be touched, lest it brings a great misfortune upon the intruder's village and loved ones. Abdalwahid al-Ma'arif concludes his research with the interpretation that these regions, which are home to the towers of evil, encourage negative behavior and feed on the negative energy produced by the vile actions and crimes of those who populate the region. This feeding then results in the clashing of our plane of existence with those of other realms, from where the foul creatures may enter through to our world. The more negative energy is produced, the more bizarre and nefarious happenings take place. However, if the accumulation reaches levels of great proportions, the resulting burst of negative energy will lead to a great tear in the lands, resulting in catastrophic seismic events. It is imperative that these regions are taken under control and protection if we are to prevent the end of civilization as we know it. Tubilisians were the protectors against evil for 1,000 years. Tubilis I eradicated the foul giants, and his lineage has defended the local region to prevent the Tower of Hiblet from falling into the wrong hands and kept peace to starve the evil from feeding. This is the law of Tubilis and the true mission of Tubilisians: to protect Calradia from utter collapse, descent into madness, and destruction of mankind. While the mountains of Hiblet were faithfully protected by followers of Tubilis until the sacking of 1012, the triangle of Zionica, Poros, and Jalmaries, the Tamia Valley, had no such guardian. The feeding of the towers went on unrestrained in this locale. If all 7 towers are allowed to feed unrestrained, the world will end. The 3 towers that led to the destruction of Atlantis are already active. Now, more than ever, the continent is under threat and must be protected at any cost. Faithful of Tubilis are to prevent the feeding of the towers of evil by putting an end to bloodshed in the areas of anomalous activity. It is up to the faithful of Tubilis, the guardians of the Calradian continent, to save the people of Calradia by securing the Tamia Valley. This is the law of Tubilis, for as the prophecy states, "Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of the darkness. And where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained." But happy is he who keeps the law. Heed the things which are written in it, for the time is near.